I'm Annie,
And I'm Trevor.
and we've been at Christ Community for 13 years. We have 3 kids, Logan, who's 10, Cooper, who's 8, almost 9, and then Aiden, who is 5.
We moved to Rochester in 2012, and when we came here, we really wanted to find a church, and finding a church that had good small groups.
As we were looking for churches, we really knew that getting into a small group that fall was of high priority for us. We were just looking for people to do community with and do life with.
Not having family in the city, they all live out of town. We wanted people that we could relate with and be able to have as our family in Rochester.
What has turned from being on a piece of paper where we all signed up to kind of be in a group together, we are now like people that we know we can call at 3 a.m. and they would be on our doorstep within 10 minutes. I think we've been through a lot together. So we've been through really happy things like job changes and births of babies and all those celebrations, but we've also been through really hard things. We've grieved alongside people who've lost parents. We've gone through infertility issues. We have stood alongside people who have had miscarriages, lost their jobs, and all of those life experiences have led to this just like family. Like we, through it all, everyone is there for each other.
We have a bond that just goes beyond just the small group on paper, like Annie said.
We really made it a priority because I think everyone in our group really wanted this friendship and wanted this family. And I think that's why it's made it so successful. It hasn't been easy at times, but it's been well worth the effort that has been put in. And now we get to see the rewards with our kids too. Our kids get to have mentors and spiritual leaders, people to look up to. They have friends in group. They all kind of consider each other cousins, which I think is adorable. But I love that my kids have 8 beautiful people that if they don't want to talk to Trevor or I about something, they can just go to them. And I know and I trust those people that they will lead our boys in the direction that we would want. And I'm really thankful that we have that community, not only for us, but for them too.
The importance of being in a small group and the amount of time and energy that you put into it comes back to you tenfold. The hard times and the good times that we've seen, the support from other people, us being able to support other people in our small group is just so important. And the friendships that we have, our kids have, is just so incredible to be able to see, and we wouldn't have that if we were not part of a small group.
Hey, Christ Community, how are you doing? It's great to see you today. My name's Daryl Holden. I'm one of the pastors here, and welcome to church on a weekend where we are highlighting being part of a community, being involved in one another's lives through our parent-child dedication, through the celebration of what's going on in our small group ministries. I'm really excited for you to experience this, if this is not something that's part of your life. So this emphasis on community is our response to this command that Jesus gave. Jesus looked at his followers and he said, "A new command I'm giving to you." Now, it wasn't like brand new, it was new and improved. "A new command I'm giving to you, love one another." And he said, love one another the same way that I have loved you. So sacrificially, and just this beautiful expression of who God is in each other's lives. And so I'm so excited for you to be here and to participate in this service with us and to celebrate our response to Jesus' command by pursuing what we call biblical community. We call this biblical community. And so as I step into my time with you, I'd like to just kind of give you our little definition of what biblical community is. For us, when we talk about being in biblical communities, you hear me use this word this weekend, talking about being in community. We're talking about having Christian friends who are present in one another's lives, who point each other to Jesus and pursue Jesus' mission together. So it's kind of a big definition. I was shooting for something shorter, a little more pithy, couldn't get there, so I landed on, I'm really proud of this definition. Do you notice the 3 P's? There's alliteration in here, so I couldn't get pithy, but I did get alliteration, so we're winning with this. But we're talking about having Christian friends who are present in each other's lives, who point each other to Jesus, and who pursue Jesus' mission together. And so we emphasize, as we're talking about this series that we're in, Rally, we're talking about the things we rally to together and Jesus' command to love each other. And so for us, one of the ways responding to this with biblical community, we put this in the top, of how we respond to Jesus' command to love each other. Last week, we talked about pursuing healthy interpersonal relationships. That's one of our priorities. And being in biblical community, that's another of our priorities. We just have 2 or 3 things we prioritize under this love each other command. The reason we prioritize being in biblical community is because it's not good for people to be alone. It's not good for people to be alone. This Bible verse from Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 and verse 18, God is looking at what he has made. This is the very beginning. God has created the heavens and the earth, and creation has almost reached its fullness. And God's looking at all that he has made, and he looks at Adam, who he has created in his image and set in the beautiful Garden of Eden and is in relationship with. And Adam's living out God's purpose for his life. And he looks at Adam and says, it's not good. It's not good for him to be alone. And it is really interesting to me because this moment where God is evaluating himself and what he's made, it's the only thing he says of his creation, this isn't good. If you were to read Genesis chapter 1, Genesis chapter 2, God creates and he looks at it and he says, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is very good. But he looks at Adam alone in the Garden of Eden, and it's curious to me that Adam at this point is in relationship with God, and he knows God and God knows him, and Adam is living out God's greater purpose for his life. Adam knows what God has called him to and knows what God has given him to do, and Adam's doing that. Adam is living in relationship with God and living on God's mission for him. And still at that spot, God looks at him and God says, this isn't good for him to be by himself. And so we have this idea in American Christianity, at least, hey, just me and God. If it's just me and God, I'm good. That is a myth. That is not true. It is not true that if it's just you and God, you're good. It's never good for somebody to be alone. It's just not good for somebody to be alone. Well, alone in what? Alone in what? Well, let's just start with, it's not good from God's perspective for somebody to be alone in life, to be alone in life. Pew Research Center released a study in September of last year. So this study's a little over a year old now. At this time, 16% of Americans said that they felt lonely all the time, and another 38% said that they feel alone some of the time. So that's over half of our population in our country that feels alone, a significant portion of their life. And if there's good news in that, it's that the number's shrinking from previous surveys, but it hasn't shrunk very much, and it isn't shrinking very fast, and we find ourselves in a situation where over half of us experience loneliness. And if you experience loneliness, even occasionally, if you experience loneliness, you know that how horrible it feels to feel alone. Just in that feeling, it validates what God says, that this is not good. It's not good for people to be alone. It's not good for us to be alone in our lives. And it's not that we don't have people in our lives, right? Because we all have so many people in our lives. We're around other people. We have contact with other people, but contact is very different than being connected. And so when we talk about addressing the aloneness in our lives, it's not that I need contact with other people. It's actually that I need some connections. Until we're experiencing connections, we're really missing out. So it's not good. It's not good to be alone in life. And we know that by the way it feels. It's not good to be alone in your faith. It's not good to be alone in your faith. One of my mentors talks about our faith, and he just calls it your most precious beliefs. Your belief in God and your beliefs about God and how you live those things out. And it's not good to be alone in that. If you've experienced that, being alone you're the only one in your circle who believes what you believe about Jesus and about your relationship with him, you know how lonely that feels. And And if you're the only one in your circle who takes it seriously, like you take it seriously, you know how hard it is to live in that way. And if we're alone in our faith, it's really hard to keep our faith at the top of our life's priorities, and it's really hard to continue living that faith out with any degree of seriousness because it's just not good. It's not good for us to be alone in our faith. And it's not good for us to be alone in the mission that God has given to us. And for us to try to live out our mission by ourselves. Our mission is to introduce people to Jesus and to follow him together. So by definition, right? By definition, you can't live out God's greater purpose for your life. We can't live out our mission as a church by ourselves. We have to do this together. And thinking about like how Jesus lived with his first followers, he never sent anybody out by themselves. Right? When he sent them out on mission, he always sent them out together. They were out with at least one other person because alone, you're isolated, you're on your own. It's hard anyway. It's harder when you're by yourself. And so God is protecting us and giving us this beautiful gift of having people with us as we live out mission. And when we try to live on mission by ourselves, that's not good. It's just not good for people to be alone. And so I'd like you to think about this, addressing this aloneness in our lives. I'd like you to think about this with me from two directions, all right? So the first direction, we're just gonna kind of think of this as, two sides of the same coin. So the first side of the coin that I'd like you to think with me about is just like for yourself, it's not good for me to be alone, right? It's not good for me to be alone. And if you want to do something a little cheesy, you could do what I'm doing right now and just kind of whisper to yourself, it's not good for me to be alone, right? Because it's not good for any one of us to be alone. It's not good for me to be alone, even if I like to be alone. It's not good for me to be alone, even if I'm really good at being alone. I'm good with it and I'm good at it. From God's perspective, it's not good for me to be alone. Even if I would consider myself a loner, it is still not good for me to be alone. God made me to be in relationship with him and with other people. It's not good for me to be alone. If I am resisting either of those relationships, if I'm resisting a relationship with God, or if I'm resisting a relationship with other people, then my life is way less than what God intended for me. It is not good for me to be alone. And so I need to start thinking about some next steps to address the aloneness in my life, right? So it's not good for me to be alone. Now, let's look at the other side of this coin and recognize that it's not good for you to be alone. Right? So if it's not good for me to be alone, then it's not good for you to be alone either. God made you to be in relationship with him, and he made you to be in relationship with other people. And if you are resisting either of those relationships, then you're experiencing way less than what God created you to experience and what he intends for you. And so if I'm beginning to think about some next steps in my life to address the aloneness that I'm experiencing, it's equally important that I start thinking about ways I can be involved in helping you not experience aloneness, right? So if it's, if we're all just kind of looking at ourselves and saying it's not good for me to be alone, then we look up and look out and recognize it's not good for anyone else to be alone either. And if I'm worried about my aloneness, I also need to be worried about yours. And even if you would say, no, I'm good, I'm connected, I have friends, I even have that definition that you read at the beginning of this whole thing. I have that in my life. I think that's awesome for you, but please remember that you live in a world where more than half of the people that you interact with would say, I feel lonely, I am alone, a significant amount or all of the time. And so even if you're connected, you have this great opportunity to be a blessing in the life of someone who is alone. You have a great opportunity to be part of the work that God wants to do in somebody else's life by being willing to open your life and open your circle to them. And so if you have a circle of people, I'm just kind of asking you, because it's not good for other people to be alone, would you kind of think about with your circle what it would look like to open that up and for your circle to become a you, so that there's room for somebody who's alone, for people who are alone to be connected with you, because it's not good for me to be alone and it's not good for you to be alone. We need to be connected and we need to be together. And so we're thinking about how do we combat this aloneness in each other's lives, and we do that by being the kind of people who are first willing to be present in somebody else's life. So what does that look like to be present in each other's lives? So Romans chapter 12, verse 15 says this. It's a relationship verse. Rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. So in this little one sentence about how we do relationship with each other, the word I'm looking at is the word with. Because again, this is a relationship verse. It's a relationship statement. It's relationship, how we live in relationship with one another. And it does not say rejoice at the same time that somebody else is rejoicing. It doesn't say mourn at the same time that somebody else is mourning. It says mourn with. And with is a relationship word. With is a proximity word. With means we're present in somebody else's life. And we all need people to be with us, right? We all need people to be with us. And in the highs of life and in the lows of life, we need people who will rejoice with us, people who will mourn with us. There's the old adage that joy shared is doubled, sorrow shared is halved. And it's true. It's true. And being present in each other's lives allows us to experience joy and sorrow in ways that are helpful to each other. And so what does it look like to be present in somebody else's life? Well, to be with them. And then that next verse there, Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, again, another relationship verse for how we're together with one another. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you'll fulfill the law of Christ. Remember, Jesus, a new command I give you, right? That you would love one another. And so love each other the way I've loved you. So carry one another's burdens. And this is the way that you're going to fulfill the law of Christ. Now, a little later in these verses, in Galatians chapter 6, there's a statement about each one of us carrying our own burden. Right? So as we go through life, there are burdens that belong to me, right? So I go through my life, there's a burden that belongs to me. You can't carry it. You can't carry it. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about my mom died back in 2007. And so like the grief and the walking through that grief, there's a part of that only I can do. But there's a part of that other people can join me in, right? And this is when we talk about carrying each other's burdens, when we read these verses, it's not talking about stepping in and trying to carry somebody else, the load that's just for them, the part that only they can do. That's incredibly unhealthy, right? To try to step in and carry the part of a load that somebody else's load to bear. And it's incredibly unhealthy to be a person who needs somebody else in your life to expect them to carry the part of the load that's yours, right? But we do have this beautiful opportunity to step in and to carry each other's burdens, and it requires us being present in each other's lives. We need to be there, to be present so that we could carry somebody else's burden. And kind of how that looks is on the front end, it requires all of us being transparent and being authentic and being vulnerable about like the burdens in our lives so that other people are aware. Nobody's a mind reader. And so if you have people in your life, if you are withholding the burdens that you are carrying, you are not being transparent or authentic or vulnerable with them, you're missing out. and they're missing out too. And so we start by being transparent, authentic, and vulnerable, and then that allows us to be able to pray for people and to pray with them in this journey, and we can share each other's burdens in prayer. And then there are many practical ways that we can step in and engage depending on what the burden is and where somebody is in their life. And just a really cool story from our life group ministry here at Christ Community. In one of our newer groups, it's just kind of getting going this year, there's a family in that group who has faced a rare and difficult illness. And there's another family in that group who has just received the same rare, difficult diagnosis. And they're going to be able to walk alongside of each other in a very specific and unique way. They're going to be able to carry one another's burdens. And this is, like, it's just, the odds are too great for this to have been a coincidence. This is something God is doing for these people who've just raised their hand and said, I want to step into biblical community, and what God has given them is somebody who can knowledgeably carry their burdens, share burdens with them. And so I think it's just this beautiful thing, and I'm really grateful that God would give these families to each other for this season of their life so that they could carry each other's burdens. So we get to be present in each other's lives. And then being present gives us the privilege of pointing other people to Jesus. So biblical community, we're present in each other's lives, and we get the opportunity to point each other to Jesus. And I love Hebrews chapter 4, verses 14 through 16. This reminds us, therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. Like, hear the plural pronouns here, right? That we profess. So it's not good to be alone in your faith. So we're going to be together, and we're going to hold firmly to this faith that we profess. We don't have a high priest who's unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way just as we are, yet he did not sin. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we could receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. And so as valuable as being present in somebody else's life is, it's incredibly valuable. We are always going to fall short of what we need from each other because we're human and we don't have all that it takes. And so we can be present in each other's lives, still we're gonna fall short, which means those of us who are engaged in biblical community, what's important for us is to also be pointing one another to Jesus. And again, 10 times in these verses, we read the words we and us and our. And what we know is that following Jesus is a team sport, right? It is something that I do as an individual, but I can't do it well without people around me. And so it is something that we do together. Pointing each other to Jesus. One of our life groups this fall, there's 6 families in the life group, and they sent 4 of their kids to college for the first time and a 5th one to the military. So massive life change going on for all these people who are part of these groups. And they just had the great privilege of being able to gather together before their kids went off. They brought their kids to meeting with them. And together they prayed for and prayed with each one of those kids. And the families are sending their kids off into this new season of life. And these families are entering their new season of life with friends who are present in their life and who are pointing them to Jesus. Because if you send a kid anywhere, you know, right? We need other people, and we need to be reminded that the Lord is with them, that they go with him. And so it's just this beautiful experience of being able to point other people to Jesus the various seasons of our lives. So the verse talks about how we approach God's throne of grace to get mercy in our time of need. And I was thinking about our time of need. When is our time of need? And for us being present in each other's lives particularly, well, you know, the obvious one is when things are hard, right? It's an obvious time of need when things are hard. Less obvious is when things are good. That's actually a great time of need for us when things are good, because when things are good, that's when we get tempted to think it's like, look what I did, it's all about me, and we walk away from God because things are going good in our lives. And maybe another time that we don't think of as much is when things are just kind of, right? Because life is just life. How are things? Well, I don't know. They're just, it's moving forward, right? And we're just grinding it out, doing our lives. And when we get grinding, we're grinding it out, doing our lives. Like, it can get kind of boring, and things can feel kind of stale. And during those seasons of our life, it's easy for our faith to just kind of dwindle. And so we have this great opportunity to be people who point others towards Jesus in whatever season, whatever time of need we happen to be experiencing in our lives. And so we all need people who are present in our lives, who are pointing us to Jesus, the highs, the lows, the seasons. And then there's this third thing that we need from each other in our lives, we get to do for each other, is to pursue our mission together. We get to pursue this mission that God has given to us together. Jesus, at the end of his earthly life, meeting with his followers, one of the commissioning passages, he says, as the Father has sent me, I'm sending you. So if you're a follower of Jesus, you have a mission. You've been sent on this mission. Acts chapter 1, verse 8, Jesus has risen from the dead. He's getting ready to return to heaven. And he tells us what the mission is. He says, you're gonna be my witnesses. In the community in which you live, in the town over there, to the uttermost parts of the earth, you're gonna be on this mission. You're gonna be a witness about and for me. So we have this mission that we do together in Hebrews chapter 10, verses 23 through 25. Let's hold unswervingly to the hope we profess. We need each other in our faith lives. It's hard to hold on to our faith alone. For he who promised is faithful. So let's keep pointing people to Jesus. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. As Christian people, each one of us has a mission. Each one of us has a greater purpose, a reason for existing beyond just moving around, breathing, taking up space, having a nice little comfortable life for me and my family. We have a way more important thing than that God has given to us. We get to be part of what God is doing in our world, in and through Jesus. And it's just this amazing thing for us. And as we engage that, we get to stir that up in one another. Because if you don't have other people stirring that up in you, it's gonna go flat, it's gonna go cold. And so we get to stir one another up to love and good deeds. And Jesus talked about how we are supposed to let our good deeds shine in front of other people so that they see what we're doing and give glory to God, our Father in heaven. And so we've been given this beautiful way to be reminding each other about this greater purpose and stirring that up in one another. And as you think about living out God's greater purpose in your life, I know so many of us are saying yes to that. It's really tempting to do that alone, right? It's just really tempting to do that alone. And maybe the temptation for you to live out your greater purpose alone is that nobody starts thinking more highly of you than they should. You know, you don't want to get them the wrong idea that you're like this great person or anything, and so you just kind of try to keep it quiet and do it yourself. Or maybe you're on the far other spectrum and it's just, I like to do this alone because it's easier for me to control, right? I get to control what I'm doing and when I do it and how much sacrifice I give to it. I'm in control. Wherever it is, whatever the reason is for you on why you would prefer to do it alone. Like that's not how God designed this mission. That's not how he made you to engage. We need people in our lives to stir us up to love and good deeds. We need each other to be healthy while we're on this mission. We need each other in order to do it well. We need each other to stay encouraged. Like we need someone else, and someone else needs you to live out God's greater purpose for your life. So for those of us who are here and who are already part of a group at Christ Community, I think a really healthy question for us is, how are we pursuing this mission Jesus has given us together? So how are we, if you're part of a group, to have a group conversation, how are we pursuing this mission that Jesus has given us together? And I know enough about the groups that are going on in our church. I know that some of you are gonna have really great answers to that question. And some of us are gonna have really great growth opportunities as we talk about it together. But it's just this great gift that Jesus has given to us that we get to be on his mission, and we get to be able to engage that mission with other people. We don't have to do it by ourselves. And so we've been gifted this biblical community where present in each other's lives, and we're pointing each other to Jesus, and we're pursuing his mission together. And all of that is a gift that God is giving to us through Jesus. So there's this amazing Bible verse that describes all of us. It's in Ephesians chapter 2. It says, "But now in Christ Jesus, you who were once far away from God have been brought near by the blood of Christ. He came and preached peace to you who were far away and peace to those who were near. And through him, through Jesus, we both have access to the Father by one Spirit." And so what God has done for you, whether you would say, hey, I'm far away from God, or, well, I feel pretty close to him right now, or somewhere in between, what Jesus has done for you is he has come to you, and he has made a way for you to be close, to be closer to God, and he's done that for each one of us. And so as we are brought close to God through Jesus, we're also brought close to one another as we gather with him in relationship with God. Here we are with each other. And so as we wrap up our time together today, I think really there's have you come near to God through Jesus? I think this is a wonderful question to wrestle with. Have you drawn near to God through Jesus? And then are you close to him? And as you're close to him, are you close to others? And so one of those two things it's got to be a need for you. It's got to be a need for somebody you know. And so we're just going to wrap up our time together with a little prayer time, a little time of response to this great need that we have, to people in our lives, to be close to God, to be close to one another. So will you bow your head, close your eyes with me? So Heavenly Father, we thank you that you desire a relationship with us. And you have made that possible through Jesus. And you desire for us to be connected to others. For our life, for our faith, for this mission you've given us. We're important to one another. So friends, I'm going to offer you just a moment. If wherever you say, I'm far away from God today, I don't know, in the middle, or I'm close. Give you a chance just to draw near to God, to let Jesus bring you near. He died on a cross so you could experience forgiveness. He rose again from the dead so you could have eternal life. Prayer might be, Jesus, I need this forgiveness. Jesus, I need this life. God, I'm drawing near to you. And God, it's not good for me to be alone. Let's just acknowledge that to him. God, it's not good for me to be alone. It's not good for them to be alone. Bring us together. Just ask God to bring you together with somebody else who needs community. So Lord, again, thank you for drawing us near to your heart. For loving us. Offering us better than what we choose for ourselves. Help us see our need for community and help us see the needs of others. Move towards them. And again, Jesus, all this goodness comes to us through